Right at it. Right at it. Oh,
Jordan
he's
Spieth.
done it again. Just as he did at the John Deere for his first win.
Good evening, good morning, good night, good afternoon, wherever you're listening, whenever you're listening. Welcome to episode 106 of the Go Get That podcast. It is a Monday of a new season for Jordan Spieth. Again, I do not really count the Sentry that much as the new season. This is the start. This or the Farmers, whichever he plays first, is always for me the start of the 2020 whatever season. And honestly, there's no reason for us to not be excited. Coming off two very good performances, I'd say that the Sentry was the better of the two, purely because I don't think that even style was meant for him to win at. It was a very high scoring event. He well over exceeded my expectations, even with the easiness of the golf course. He stared down a Chris Kirk that did not miss a putt, and then, yeah. But it's a new season. We're starting. This 4-week stretch is always one of my favorites of the year. We're looking at Pebble, Waste Management. Those are two tournaments that he's historically played. He's had good moments at. Then obviously you make your way to the Genesis, which he's had his goods and his bads at. Course doesn't necessarily fit him, but he's had some good results there. He's led there a few times going into the weekend. And then I believe it's usually he's skipping the Mexico, correct? Yes.
We would assume so, yes.
We would assume, and then it's the Arnold Palmer, which is
It was actually the Honda is before API. So,
oh really?
Yeah. Or the Cognizant now. My apologies.
I hope sometime in the next few years, Mr. Spieth can make his way to the Honda, but probably not this year, as we'll get into. Excited to see him commit. I know Jordan and I last year we were extremely upset when he followed up his T4 with not committing. So I would expect the Arnold Palmer to be in his rotation for the future. I would hope so. It's a course that he plays very well. And I don't know why it didn't show up in his schedule earlier in his career. But overall, these next 6 weeks, it's a chance to get off on the right foot. He's struggled to win early in the season for a while now. The last time he's won before April is 2017. 20, yeah. So it's been 7 years since he's won before April. So we're gonna hope for the best, but we're starting off on a tournament that he's been in contention a lot at. And that's this week, and that's the Pebble Pro-Am. The Pebble Half-Am, I guess, this year. It's only being played at two courses and only 2 rounds of amateurs this year, but we'll be with Jake Owen as usual. And I'm excited.
Yeah, it's well summed up. Definitely the opening stretch. I know you kind of mentioned the Sentry is kind of like, it's not preseason because it counts.
It's not a warm-up event. It is not a warm-up event.
It's exactly. It's not a warm-up.
We're very happy to see that he didn't treat it as such this year.
But yeah, you really kick it off either here or Farmers, and I summed it up on the IG post. A lot of excitement, and by my count, I think Jordan's going to play 9 of the next 12 weeks. That's my prediction. And there's a lot of excitement. I know you mentioned he hasn't won before April since 2017. He hasn't played good golf at the Sentry and the Hero since probably around that time frame as well. Maybe he did in 18, but we've been so, accustomed to poor performances at the Sentry and the Hero, and that's kind of changed this year. And that's why I guess excitement is at probably a high point that we kind of haven't had. I mean, I guess since really April of last year was fun early last year, but I guess going into a season, we haven't had this much excitement really since before we started the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob, you mentioned getting off on the right foot, and you talked about winning. And to Jordan's point, kind of summing up there, it's like winning has not been a part of the formula here in the past 7 seasons. But he has started off on a decent foot, still solidly positioned inside the Comcast top 10.
Mm.
What
Still
we
at
look
eighth.
for.
Yeah, I think that's all we want. Is to finish inside that
We
top
we
10.
do joke about it, but at the same time, we have
Oh, he's
always been angry at how he started the FedEx Cup season. So
Jordan. Yeah, Jordan and I were talking at the end of last episode about how long it took him to get to the amount of points he has now, last season, and we presumed it wasn't until the API. So we're about 6 weeks ahead of schedule, which is quite nice. And like you mentioned, a good stretch coming up here. Pebble has obviously played really well at.
yeah,
No Monterey this year, which is nice for TV coverage purposes. And he actually plays really well at Spyglass as well. He's one of the better players there. So um it's a chance to continue to play well and rack up another good result slash be in serious contention again.
I believe that actually Pebble is his worst of the three historically. Am I incorrect?
Oh man, I don't have the stat on me.
I
But
believe Monterey was actually second. So I don't know if this necessarily helps or hurts Spieth.
Well, but to the point, he torches Spyglass. Like
yeah,
Spyglass is the hardest,
Spyglass is the hardest of the three courses,
and
depending on the wind.
he plays it the best.
Yeah.
I think Monterey might have a lower scoring average. Is it a par 72?
I'm talking about strokes gained. Obviously
Okay.
Monterey is the easiest of the three, but
Yeah, I don't have those numbers. It's a
the
little
score to
tough.
par.
Monterey is there's no shot link. I guess there's none at Spyglass either, but
yeah, and I think the coolest thing about Spieth is Spieth historically has honestly struggled the most at Pebble in that first 7 holes. That first 7 holes is historically, I mean, it's got to be the easiest 7 hole stretch in golf. I mean, if you're not 400 through 7 there, you're losing strokes. And I feel like that's where I believe I saw something last year that's where he's struggled over the years. He's actually outperformed the field in the last 11. So he'll have to play those 7 holes once more this year. And it'll be interesting to see that.
well, at least 3 times more. No cut.
Yeah.
This
No cut.
this season. Only 80 players and 1 round at Pebble, 1 round at Monterey before 2 rounds at Pebble on the weekend. So, or excuse me, not Monterey, Spyglass Hill. I just said Monterey is not in the rotation, but should be. I'm curious to see how they split it because obviously all the big names are back. This is the first truly marquee event of the year in terms of names, right? I think this is what do they call these events? these days?
Signature events.
Signature event. Right. There we go. So you get all the big names here who are still on the PGA Tour, that is. And you get 80 of them together. And it should be a stacked leaderboard. Obviously, we've had some if you've been keeping up, a lot of long shot winners. I'd expect that to change this week just based on the guys who are here and who are playing well. And we'll get into some of the field in a little bit, but Rory's played well over in Dubai. Spieth's played well early. He's played well here before. Jason Day's all played well here a lot before. So
Yeah, it'll also be interesting to see all these names play here. This is usually an event that was star-studded by or basically led by Dustin Johnson and Jordan Spieth every year. This is not an event that many of the big names have played over the years, probably because of the amateur factor. This is usually an event that when J. Spieth has been in contention with some not huge names. I mean, you think of the Hoagies and the Lashleys of the world. Don't even know if they qualify this year. I know Hoagie definitely does, but I doubt
would
Nate
not
Lashley
think
will
so.
be here. So this isn't like we're gonna see some players who we don't usually see here.
Mhm.
So it'll be interesting for sure. Who is Rory's am this week?
I assume they'll announce tomorrow, but yeah, that was the name I was kind of. It's going to be intriguing to watch him play this golf course, considering it's not a Rory golf course by any stretch of the imagination. So like, not that we're, I don't know. It's just not a course that fits him. Going to take driver out of his hands, I assume, on a lot of holes. Although I think it's going to play soft. I don't know if we have a Weatherman Dan, segment here, but I did see the forecast, and if you'd like to explain to us what the weather is going to look like, Dan.
You ask, and you shall receive. I was just pulling that up as you mentioned it. Of course, my computer's taking forever to load. But yeah, you mentioned it. It's supposed to be mid to low 50s, rainy, a little bit windy, just kind of a mess. Hopefully play isn't paused for any reason, due to too much rain, too heavy rain, and it's kind of just, if it does rain, just a steady sort of rain or mist that's playable.
Playable.
But it's gonna be
keyword.
kind of a mess. Yeah, rain every day. That's lovely. Mid 50s. Ooh, Sunday's gonna be fun, blowing around 20 miles an hour. So this is gonna be a grinded out kind of week, which is exciting. I know we've used that word a lot today, but we might get some serious like kind of open championship weather vibes here. As the weekend goes along, and soft golf course means ball will probably be in hand, which again puts greater emphasis on finding fairways. So guys who can put the ball in the short grass should probably have an advantage here this week. Obviously a shorter golf course in general, so plenty of opportunities to score. And I guess to that point, I think it probably benefits those who have played here more to have this poor weather, just because course experience have probably greater chance of having played in weather like this. So guys like Jason Day with his baggy pants and Spieth, obviously, but even Fitzpatrick, I think, has been around this track a few times. So a couple guys to keep an eye on, or just something to think about if you're placing any bets or what it.
Also, a notable name missing from the field this week is Mr. Bill Murray.
Ooh,
Wow.
Yes,
He saw the weather and said no.
not doing this
apparently.
shit.
I was looking at the amateur field, and Bill Murray, Ray Romano, and Steve Young, three of the people that have played this tournament for years, are not in the field this week.
I love that. I love that Josh Allen, Bills QB, is just gonna get drenched 4 straight days. Or sorry, 2 days while playing golf. That's funny.
Yes, well, he doesn't
He
have
will-
any. He doesn't have anything significant coming up the next few weeks, so he will be playing.
Beat the Chiefs, he wouldn't be here. Simple as that.
Correct.
It'll be interesting though. I know we've mentioned no more Monterey. It'd be interesting how the scoring gets affected, not only with, the weird weather that we're gonna get. Well, I guess not weird for Pebble, but you take away the easiest course in the rotation. It'll be interesting to what the final score might be this week. Rose won at 18 under last year, but you take away a round for Monterey. Is it more of a 15-ish, maybe 14-ish this week? Do we think that plays into Spieth's hands? I'd assume he's played in it before, so I know you kind of mentioned it, Dan. Course history might be an even bigger factor this week.
Yeah, I think any the 14 range, I think if it's Spieth quite a bit, because well, I mean, it just means the birdies are limited elsewhere and people are making mistakes because Spieth's gonna make. In that sense, I think it bodes well. But I'm be interesting to see how it plays out. I just really a Monday finish. Delays always suck. Going off in threesomes on the weekend and that kind of stuff, which I think they will do anyway, just because but threesome split tees, like please none of that. Just give me straight up. Everybody starts on one or whatever it might be. And let's crown a champion proper on Sunday evening.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think everyone's off one this week with 80 players?
Yes.
You can get 20 groups off in a day? Because they'll go by twos the first 2 days.
Yeah, I would think so. You're playing on 2 golf courses the first couple of days. I don't know why everyone can't go off one.
I think they can.
Yeah, I don't think Sunday will be everyone off one though.
There's
Well,
no
it might be-
cut. Yeah.
It might go threes.
Be interesting to see how they do
Yeah.
it. for tee times because I know us college students have, schedules and when we can watch and track and all that. So
Also the 3 hour, well, I guess for Bob it's not that different, but
It's 1 hour for me.
Pacific time of the Eastern Standard Time Zone
Yes.
offers up some challenges, which are fun though. There's nothing like a little prime time golf.
as long as there's no
I'm on
Monday
Mountain
finish.
Time Zone until the Masters.
Yes.
Then I'm back to Pacific.
Yes.
As long as we don't do a Monday finish. That's all I'm asking for.
Yes, please know that.
It'd be a
Well,
disaster.
3 weeks in a row here. I don't know if we want to get into the schedule as a whole, but
I do. Could I say one more thing there real quick?
yes.
Wednesday will be a fun pro-am with gusts from 40 to 45 miles per hour.
Mm.
That sounds like
Is that the type of weather that Mr. Spieth will be taking the day off for?
Oh God. Imagine, I
Probably.
mean, that's like
I feel like what we know about his game right now, though, he's earned it. Because
a day off.
We're
A
the
day
all
off?
we're the all sayers of Spieth's game.
I don't know if he's earned it.
I
Not
mean,
yet.
I can imagine M. Greller will still be plotting on Wednesday.
Yeah, I could see Greller having like the 3 coats on, getting some yardage
Yeah.
late in the last minute yardages. But yeah, I'm ready to transition to the schedule. I have made my schedule prediction. I really only have like well, maybe a couple surprises based on what you guys think, but
Well, let's hear it.
alrighty, so I have from here to the Tour Championship, I have 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 16, 21 events. So that's
Ooh.
pretty reasonable. Start very simple, Pebble, Phoenix, Genesis, already committed to those 3. Then API players, and then I believe I am the first 50. I think he returns to Valspar.
He should.
That is my prediction. And then I believe, and this one's the kind like sort of controversial one, I believe Jordan Spieth will tee it up at the Houston Open this year.
Mhm.
That would be 4 in a row. API players, Valspar, Houston. And then a week off. I think he skips Valero again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Rory's-
mean, I think it's in his best interest to play. I think he's definitely going to play one of the two, Houston or Valero.
I just don't
I
see a
think it's in
chance
his
he's gonna
best
go.
interest to play the Houston.
Uh, Yeah. And I mean, I want Valspar to be in the rotation, and I think it just makes more sense to play 3, take a week, play 4, take a week, Masters, than
Yeah.
play 3, take a week, play 2, take a week, 3 with Masters. Well, because the RBC's after, so he's got to. I think Valero's the odd one out. It could be Houston, but I'd much rather see Houston than Valero. But so I guess so far the one thing that might flip, I think, would be Valero Houston.
That was what I was contemplating. So the reason I went Houston is last year he played the Dell Technologies, which he obviously played instead of Valero, and then Houston took the match play week this year. So to me, it makes sense for him to play Houston. You're swapping out the match play for Houston. And I just think that makes sense. I know Rory's playing Valero this year. I think it's kind of every guy is going to have their preference, but I think both of those fields should be pretty loaded. I think you'll get
Yeah.
some really good players in one, really good players in the other. I just think he's going to go with Houston. That's just my gut feeling. And then regarding Valspar, since I know that's not a lock, I think we're probably all in agreement that he'd be a moron to not play it.
Yeah.
It's just like skipping API, and I get it's not as big as an event as skipping API like he did a couple of years ago. But we have
When it fits the schedule.
he's got a
nicely.
cut, he's got a miscut at Valspar. What, 3 top 20s, a win, and a T3.
Yeah.
Like it just does not make any sense to skip that.
Yeah.
So that's what I got. And then I got Masters, RBC, week off. Couple weeks off. I think he plays the Byron Nelson. I know it's not
Yeah.
AT&T event anymore, but I just think the hometown event, I don't see him skipping
I don't
that.
see him skipping 2 Texas events this year.
Yeah. I don't care that it's not AT&T sponsored. That's what he deems his home field event is the Byron Nelson. So I had that. And then I had a week off. I think he's another kind of somewhat bold one. I think he returns to Wells Fargo.
I do. I agree with that.
Um, I think it's again in his best interest, to play a big boy golf course to, go into the PGA the week after.
I mean, he's playing Craig Ranch. That's a big boy golf course.
I am aware he's playing Craig Ranch, but I don't really. I hope he does not get phased out by Wells Fargo because of last year. I know we don't love Quail Hollow here, especially as a major venue, but I like it's a tough test of golf. I like when par is a good score. I do think he plays there, so I got Wells Fargo, PGA Schwab, week off, and then we're kind of into the final stretch here. I got Memorial, the US Open, and I think he returns to Travelers. I think that's kind of been one that's 50-50 each year. I think he's back there this year, and then I have week off after that, couple weeks off, Scottish Open, then the playoffs. So that's what I got. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the thing about the Travelers, sorry to cut you off, is
You're
that
good.
US Open is now it's on the East Coast, it's at Pinehurst.
Good
I think
point.
that's just a much easier travel spot.
Completely forgot that when I was making my prediction.
And just one more thought. I didn't realize the CJ Cup Byron Nelson at Sea Ranch is right after the Heritage.
Is it the week
So
after?
it is. Because they
Oh
moved
man.
Mr. M Beach Classic
Beach Club. Maybe Speed shows up at Myrtle Beach.
after. So it kind of looks like he'll play the Masters, the Heritage, and then probably the Byron Nelson, which makes it seem more likely that Mr. Valero is going to be not having Jay Spieth on property that week.
Then
there's a few months after that, but it kind of works itself out pretty well here the rest of the way.
I must make a correction. I do see the Zurich the week after the Heritage. April 25th through the 28th, and then the
Google lied to me.
Sea Ranch is May 2nd through the 5th, according to the PGA Tour app, which has been wrong before.
No, the app would
many a
lie about that.
time, many a
Google
time.
would lie about that.
Just
Who
to add
knows?
that.
Maybe he goes to Louisiana and tees it up with Mr. Thomas or something.
That'd be a
Please,
awful,
no.
awful.
Yeah.
There's just
I
no
would be
interest.
fine with him playing the Zurich, just please not with Thomas.
What about Mr. Zalatoris?
Would be okay with that.
There's not a chance in hell he shows up to the Zurich.
Would love to see him donate some points for Kisner.
Could be. Be one
a
way
good
to keep
idea.
him from
That would be one way to keep him his tour card. I feel like Kisner just needs to play with top players at the Zurich every year.
Yeah. Well, that reminds me. Former Spieth Zurich partner is Mr. Palmer in the field this week at AT&T.
Mr.
Pebble.
Palmer would meet a special pro-am guest.
Yes, he would. And he's been Mr. Spieth's playing partner since DJ jumped ship.
I don't know if Palmer made the field, man.
Well,
Mr. Palmer made the
it's not
field.
even that we're looking for Mr. Palmer. We're looking for Mr. Comcast.
Mr. Palmer did not qualify.
Oh
Oh,
no.
no Mr. Comcast for us this year.
So maybe he'll team up with because originally I think it was supposed to be Spieth and Zalatoris before Zalatoris had to withdraw
No will this week.
or something. So maybe it's Spieth Zalatoris. That'd be fun.
There is no Zalatoris this week.
Wow. Oh, because he didn't qualify. That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be Spieth. Well,
It's gonna be Mr. Thomas. That's
gonna
gonna
be
it
Mr.
just makes too
Thomas.
much sense.
Oh my goodness.
Thomas never plays this event. It's gonna be
Who
Mr.
do you think?
Thomas.
Well, it might be kind of fun to watch Mr. Thomas struggle around a cold and chilly Pebble Beach, but
Mr. Thomas does thrive in easy, straightforward conditions.
yeah, I
I'm
feel
looking
like
at the field right here. Cagely, 8th alternate. 8th.
wow, a
Wow.
two-time
First
major
round
champ,
merchant.
8th alternate.
Cage is really
Yeah.
falling off, man.
Yeah, you win back-to-back majors and you don't even get to go to Pebble in 2 years. That's crazy.
Did you guys hear about the sponsor invites for this week?
No.
No,
And the two guys that got them, or at least two that got them, Maverick McNeely and Webb Simpson, both of whom are on the PAC committee, working for the tour.
Webb Simpson.
Webb Simpson got a sponsor's invite.
Yeah, and McNeely lives right there.
See, I get McNeely because AT&T is paying him, but Webb Simpson does not belong in this
Webb's
field.
interesting. Webb does not deserve to get into these events.
I think I'm looking right here. Webb's probably missed 15 cuts in his last 25 starts.
Wow,
15.
Weber. Come
And
on,
Webb's
Tud.
Webb's getting in a signature event, and that's no hate to Webb, but
But who do you have?
Is it
for-
time for Webb to it? Some would say Webb's current form is comparable to Mr. Murray of the tennis world, and maybe it's time for both of them to hang it up.
Ken, what were you
Um,
gonna say?
I was gonna say, do you still have the first alternates? Like, do you have the alternate list still up or no?
I do, yeah.
Like, who's first?
Who's first?
Hayden Buckley,
Who's second?
Matt Neesmith,
Who's third?
Justin Suh.
Uh,
You want to keep going?
yeah, I want to just see if there's a name that's worthy of.
All right, Aaron Rye, 4.
Exemption over Webb.
Camilo Villegas, 5.
Yeah, I would give him because he just.
How's
won
he not
that
in?
Story. I don't know. He won on
Yeah.
the amazing, super awesome fall series, and he doesn't even get into the main events next year. That doesn't make any sense.
He's probably in the next 10 or whatever it's called. Joel Damon, the 11th alternate this week.
Jay Damon.
I think it's time we state our truths about the fact that Joel Damon is just not very great.
Oh yeah,
at
Peter
golf.
Malnati got a sponsor's exemption too. Malnati.
Mm.
That's fine. I like Malnati.
So
I like-
Simpson's a
You
100.
like Malnati until he careers and beats Spieth by 2 this week.
Well, but I like betting on Malnati top 40s because he pops at the same places.
Malnati's currently 291st in the data golf ratings.
We forgot to do picks this week.
Yeah.
Malnati,
we
4
have
straight
to-
miscuts.
we
We'll
might have
start
to-
next week. We'll start next week.
to revamp the system. We'll work on it.
I mean, I still need a
Malnati.
CARP SAT score.
I know. Carp's working on it.
Just saying.
I'm also working on employment after this semester, which is a little on the mind. Who knows though? Maybe a higher SAT score would help my chances of employment.
Maybe.
Would it actually be higher though?
I highly doubt that.
Yeah.
I feel like you should just attempt like the lowest ever score.
I'm sure someone's had to have done that on like YouTube before. Just the lowest
I
possible
think
SAT score.
I think you get 400 for putting your name.
Oh,
So
come
don't put your-
on.
And so I
You-
think I think Kevin Hart told a story about how he got a 580 because he just went abacadabra down the whole like everything. And he got a 580. So
Yeah, the
you could
worst part
go-
about that test is you have to wait for the time to run out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Come-
that's the punishment in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is the time.
That's
It
a
should have
good
to be.
point.
No, I was gonna say, could you imagine if it was during a J Spieth round?
Oh,
Just 3
God.
hours, 4 hours of your life.
Man, I'm
Wow.
already hoping for late early this week. That's gonna be like
Late
the ask all semester in terms of like classes for me.
I'm
Uh,
hoping for the early late.
You'll be an early late guy. Gotcha.
I'm hoping for the middle.
What's your schedule? Do you have
Actually,
night classes?
I don't have classes on Fridays.
That's nice.
But in my
Yeah, I don't
only
have-
classes
have
on
either.
Thursday are at 7:30 and 1:30.
In the
But I
morning.
have a qualifying round for my club team.
You have a 7:30 class.
Yes, it is.
That is brutal.
It is, to be nice, hell.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
be
How's that even
nauseated.
like possible?
What?
How's that even possible?
It's not.
It's not.
It's not.
Do you have a long commute to get there?
No, it's
When do you
a
get
2-minute
up?
walk. It's a 2-minute walk,
Okay.
thankfully. But
Ooh.
at the same time, it was a guidance counselor F up. to
Oh,
say the
yeah.
least.
Okay. When's your alarm set on Thursday then?
6:50.
It's like high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, getting up at 6:45 for high school was not even that hard. But getting up for 7:30 twice a week is like the worst thing I've
Oh,
ever.
yeah. When you do it every day, it's not that bad. But
I must say, as someone who's not finished classes till like 4 every day, it is nice to get it out of the way early.
Yeah, all of my classes end before 3, so
That's pretty nice.
yeah, I have one super late one on Wednesdays, but that's
You
fine.
have a night class?
Yeah, it's the marketing analytics.
I have a night class on Wednesdays too.
It's
Would
a
be
good day of the week to have a late class.
it's
Might
not a Spieth
interfere
day.
with the Masters live podcast, but we'll figure that out. in
We make
2 months.
exceptions for the Masters.
Yeah, I might have to cut class then.
Oh man. Do we have anything else for this Pebble do we have any predictions this week? I know we're all pretty optimistic, but
well, we have some questions that were sent in.
oh sick.
Oh,
Love
questions.
questions.
We can go through those quickly.
Let's do it.
First one is, will the wedges improve after a couple weeks with the new SM10s?
Yes. God, I hope so. I mean, I kind of just think it's like, how much did he play? And I don't know. I think he put in some good work. It was cold in Dallas, so we'll see
Uh-oh.
how much.
Cold day in Dallas means a day with the babies.
Yes, right. It means. I mean, it could mean a day with the flat stick. You never know.
Well, probably not, but maybe.
Be fine with the flat stick day.
But yeah, those cold days
Maybe
usually means Annie days.
maybe he let Sammy hit a few putts.
Right. Yeah, Sammy gets his putter out. That's what was meant.
It's an interesting question though, because we look at the 3-week stretch that we're about to begin, and this is the wedge week. I
Yeah.
know you get Summit, API, and Genesis, but not nearly as many. They're going to need to be good if he's going to want to contend, unless he's just going to go full Sentry and drain a ton of punts again. So this is the week to really see where the wedges are. They need to be good. Yeah, small greens. It's going to be
Ball
the
and
wind
hand
is going to
probably, too.
provide some. Yeah, they'll be soft. Watch the spin. The wind could create some issues, but everyone's got to plan it, and he's done it probably more than anyone else in the field. So let's hope for a good week.
Speaking of weeks off, seems like he had enough time to hop on a podcast.
I did see that.
I did not listen yet.
It was good. I enjoyed it. I mean, anytime he talks for more than 3 minutes about things that are like, they were good questions, I feel like was the other part of it. So if you haven't given it a listen, it's on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Maybe at the Waste Management, I can try and persuade him onto our podcast.
That's what you need to be doing. Yeah, put you to work. But yeah, Mark Immelman's podcast. If anyone wanted to listen,
who has more pull, Mark Immelman or the Go Get That Squad?
Mark's a coach. I honestly I knew he was obviously Trevor's brother,
and a broadcaster too.
That's true. He doesn't get the love, but
no, he's pretty
talented brother duo.
He's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
He's a wizard.
Yeah. Elise asks, who careers this week to beat Jordan by 2 strokes?
Let's take a look at the field here.
The number one response, none other than Mr. Nick Hardy this week is the case.
Speaking of interesting guys in the field, Nick Dunlap. Nick Dunlap's in the field again.
Nice.
Newly professional Nick Dunlap. It would be really freaking funny if Nick Dunlap beat Jay Spieth by 2 strokes this week.
All right, I got a name. Andrew Putnam. That's my American that I think that'll give Spieth some issues. Or Sam Ryder.
Let me look at the field real quick.
Why not Mark Hubbard?
Is Hubbard in the field?
He is in the field.
Oh, that could be a problem for the Spieth camp. Or Lee Hodges. Lee Hodges could provide some issues.
Lee Hodges is a constant issue for the Jay Spieth camp. Let's see. Who's my pick?
Maybe it's Tommy Fleetwood's week, man.
Fleetwood?
Could be.
You would think the Englishman would play well here. Rose
Or
won.
Kevin Yu. Maybe Steven Yeager finally gets it done.
Oh God. It could definitely be a Kevin Yu week this week.
Dude, he's last on the field list, but he's a devil,
Yep.
man. You got to watch out
Yeah,
for him.
and
Scary. Honestly, look out for Mr. Naismith if he gets into the fields.
I mean,
Naismith
just
could
I
be a
can't wait.
problem.
But my pick is Mr. U. I'm having him go 8 under, 7 under the first 2 rounds. So we'll see how he plays on the weekend. But
Well,
or
just
Webb
wait for
Simpson
him.
finally has a good week.
oh god, can you imagine Webb Simpson makes his first cut in 3 years and he beats Spieth?
That would be on brand.
Yeah, just wait for you to finish 4 birdies in the last 6 hole and just start like pointing at Spieth like you just got you'd, baby.
You know the U dart on 17 to 3 feet on Sunday.
Which is just gonna be absolute chills for everybody.
You and 40-mile-per-hour winds throws a dart on 17.
A life-changing win for Kevin Yu as we are crippled in our beds crying.
Yeah. It's a
Megan
low bullet
asks,
4-iron too. Just right through the wind.
yes,
The
40 miles an
the
hour dead
tracer's
into the
just gonna
wind.
be an absolute ping
Or the Tom Watson chip-in style
right
from
at it
Kevin
the whole
Yu.
way. Nance with some chilling call.
You got
Megan
it.
asks, how many wins does Jordan need for it to be considered a good year?
9.
Two.
No, I
2 unless there's a major involved.
I
But
think it
there needs to be
depends.
2. We cannot be content with 1-win years.
I think it depends on what the 1 win is. If he
But
wins a signature event, I think it's a good year. Well,
yeah, I think that's well said. If he
well,
wins a
okay. So
signature
I'll say
event,
if he wins this week and then doesn't do anything the rest of the year, it's not a good year.
yeah,
But if he contend, I think it's more about contention than it is about wins, in terms of context, because I think the wins will come with contention. Because like I want him to be relevant at majors, and if he does that and adds a pretty good win, then I think it's a good year.
yeah, I'd agree. Consistency, my favorite word. He's done that through 2 events, been consistent, been in the, in the range on Sunday. It could be one signature event. I really want I want him to be relative in 3 majors. 3. Not, the usual 2, and then you crap the bed at the 2 that are just too hard for him. But it'd be nice to make an appearance at Valhalla or Pinehurst. That'd be nice. Just consistency. If you told me right now we could get 2021, I don't know if I'd sign for it, but I probably wouldn't be too disappointed.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit, higher quality W than a Valero, but that wouldn't be the end of the world. And 2021 was super consistent. So something like that would be nice.
Finally, we have what is the strokes gained ceiling for 2024?
Ooh,
Oh, Lord.
that's an interesting question. Um, so I guess I'll look at it one way. I think in terms of like rankings, like where he could rank in terms of all of them. He mentioned on the podcast actually that, and it's true, he's been inside the top 10 in each category for a season. Off the tee was a while ago, but that's starting to come back. But there's sort of a thing you see with Scheffler is that his approach game is so good that obviously he's struggled a bit with the putting, but the putting looks, I think it looks worse than it does because than it actually is because he has 12 footers all day because he flags everything. So I think a balance of like everything around 35th actually means, yeah, this
Really
dude's
good.
probably like a top 5 player. But I think you could also want things to peak. If the driver putter combo was what it was at Sentry, then I think that's lethal. And I think it can win some serious tournaments. I would like to see, I mean, if you have to choose, if you combine a elite approach play with elite putting, you're gonna win everything. So obviously that's what you'd like to see. But I think the ceiling is like there's no reason for me not to believe that he can't play like a top 5 player this year in terms of statistical numbers. It's just which ones are relevant. And they all kind of impact each other, I guess, too. So you kind of have to think about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. I'm just looking at, the data golf rankings right now, and there's really five names on a pure like consistency, not even just winning basis that I think he can struggle to beat, would struggle to beat. That'd be Scotty, Rory, Hovland. Bob's gonna hate these names, but they're just really consistent dudes. Schauffele and Cantlay. Those are the five dudes I just think on a consistency basis.
Boo.
I know. Just consistency though. I'm not talking winning, that he might struggle to be bet. Besides that, if he gets his, behind out of, I mean, his head out of his behind, there's no reason why he can't be a top five player come the end of this year.
Well, it's important
Um,
to streak a little bit too. Like
yeah,
a little bit of inconsistency where you pop occasionally and a couple things pop. That's a great
sure.
week.
It's just that one bad week cannot turn into two, because that's I think what's happened over these
Agreed.
last couple of obviously we get that hot streak and then he just, everything goes to crap real quick, and that's what's kind of I know after frickin' and I know the injury, but after Wells Fargo last year, it was pretty awful. One bad week needs to get corrected, and then you play good again. Um, yeah, that's kind of what I'll leave it at. But yeah, there's no reason he can't be a top five player in the world. I think it's all in his hands.
Yeah.
Do you have an answer to the
Do we have
question?
an
I know you're not
yeah,
a strokes gain nerd, but
that is the question. So do we have
what was
anything
your
else?
answer though? Did you have an answer?
To mine?
Yeah, was it your? It wasn't your question, was it?
No. I'm just not really enough of a strokes gain nerd to
Gotcha.
give a good answer.
Good
I mean,
answer.
I'd say I'd be happy with him top 10 in 2 to 3 categories. Um, if he's top 10 in 2 to 3 categories, I don't think the others need to necessarily be that high at
If he's
all.
top 10 and two, he might be the best player in the world if for the right
Yeah.
categories.
If he's top 10 and I in one, listen, I think the ceiling is top 10 in putting.
That would be really
If
nice.
he's top 10 in putting, he probably wins player of the year.
I don't think Bob's wrong in saying that, because I think the floor with the ball striking is good enough.
So ceiling wise, I think this with putting.
Yeah. That yeah, I guess if you had to look at one stat to kind of indicate how the season's gonna go, it's gonna be putting. It's
Yeah.
gotta be. I mean,
Unless
unless
he gets
we
hurt, the ball striking is just not going to fall so bad off the earth.
right. And
Well, we say that, but then
I mean, if the
I mean,
approach numbers are elite, then that could also be a good indicator, right? Those are I mean, putting obviously, I think putting determines more uh
yeah.
top kind of winners, but
If he
approach play is
finishes
elite, you're consistently up there all the
if he
time.
finishes the year top 10 in putting and doesn't win, I'll denounce my fandom.
I
Yeah.
probably would as
In
well.
2019 bad ball striking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just not.
Can't do that twice in a career.
I don't
Sorry.
see a chance that he could finish top 10 in putting and not win an event.
Yeah.
The
So
top 10 in
that's the
putting is
ceiling.
hard.
That's the ceiling. In my opinion, the ceiling comes down to putting.
Yeah.
Good
I will
question.
say, while we're talking about strokes gained, I obviously only one event in for this season. I guess Hero. Um, I'm very curious about the approach play. The driver's been a lot better. Short game might have some bumps, but it's always been pretty good. I feel like the approach play's been mid at best. It's above average, but it's not elite. And maybe it's just a new kind of player because he gains more strokes off the tee. So like the wedge play, I don't know. He's just not hitting it as close, or there isn't as much of a reliance on it because he's driving it a lot better. But that's I'm curious to see what the numbers say this week, and then obviously I like Phoenix because Riv are good strokes gain numbers.
Yeah.
Where's your game at? Kind of stuff. So
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely too early to tell with the approach play. But yeah, I think, you kind of said it perfectly. Phoenix and Genesis are like two wonderful events to really get because Phoenix isn't easy by any stretch of the imagination. And we kind of saw, I mean, you can blitz that place, but you can You find a cactus or two, and you can. Or you'll be there, Bob. So that'll be
I will.
pretty darn cool. Are you going to be on foot or?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Hopefully,
I'll
Spieth
be
gets
there
kind of a
all
mid group
7
then.
days.
That's sick.
I'll,
Hopefully, Spieth will get like a
maybe-
mid group, so there's not as many people.
We'll have to plan what to do with the podcast because I'm doing a show Tuesday night there.
Monday night.
A Tuesday night. Yeah,
And we
Monday
could do our
night. Yeah,
podcast?
we could do a podcast Monday night. Yeah,
Could we do
because
it
I'll get to
live
scout
from
out.
the
I'll get to
TPC
scout out the
South?
course. I would hope Spieth would be practicing Monday, but you never know.
How Pebble goes.
Yeah,
He
I mean
definitely
it's
won't be
not a
out there
very
Monday at
hard trip. I
Genesis.
mean, you can easily be in Phoenix Monday morning.
I just don't know if tour pros practice on Monday though. A lot of them. I know for major weeks they obviously do, but I don't know for non-major weeks if they're out on Mondays. But you'll find out, I guess.
I'm sure the Kevin Hughes will be out there putting.
If
the
shit
ground in.
hits the fan at Pebble, he'll be out there Monday. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But
I would hope so.
God forbid that does not happen.
Because if he doesn't show up Monday, then Kevin Hughes already has him a step ahead. But do we have anything else?
No, that's all I got. Looking forward.
Yeah.
The three of us, the boys, we're back. I think 9 out of the next 12 weeks we will be here. That's what 18 pods if we
Back.
get our recaps out, everything goes to plan. So that's
The
that's
Fab
sick.
Five. Us three, Spieth, and Greller.
That's the only 5 you need, man.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. But
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'll wrap it up
So-
here. Take care.
I think that's
Peace.
Peace.